Hi there and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to tackle one of the most common issues I see, especially when you first open your raw files like in Lightroom or whatever. And that's having that slightly uneven or even orange sort of skin tones that just don't quite look right. Now, a lot of people think this is just a white balance problem, and while that does play a part, it's usually not the full story. So the real issue is inconsistent color across the skin, and if you don't fix it early, the more you edit, the worse it often gets. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how I take an image from a recent one-on-one private session and clean up those skin tones so that they look natural, even, consistent, without over editing or even losing texture. So let's jump in and have a look. Okay, so I've got this image here of Emily, and straight out of the camera, if I've got the white balance set to flash, it looks a little off. If I have it as shot, that's not too bad. I am just going to double click and check with the white balance checker just on the background, and that has evened it out a little bit, but let's go and have a little look. So there are some lines from tanning lines and things like that. There's also a bruise. There's a little unevenness where the light is hitting and all the rest of it. So what we can do, I can go into the color mixer and I can play with that a little bit. Now, whether your model's looking a little pale, you can boost up the saturation there, but you can also jump into the point color and you can pick the color. And if you come down to the variance slider, you can play with that. Now, you do have to be a little careful with it, but if I go all the way to the right, you will get a huge variance in the color. But if we go to the left, we will see that all of those different colors tend to verge together. Now, you don't want to go all the way to the left because we have lost all the skin tones that we have. So, but just going a little bit to the left, we can fix that up. It hasn't quite got rid of the tanning lines, but we can fix that up in Photoshop. So I'm going to take this image into Photoshop and we're going to have just a quick little tone in there. You can also jump into programs like Aperty and things like that to fix that up. So we've also got another tan line here, which is quite subtle, but it is still there. And I have this area in the background I want to fix up as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, now that I've done that subtle tweak, I'm going to jump into Photoshop and continue editing a little more. Okay, so first things first, I just want to get rid of that line in the background because it is really distracting. Look, I probably could have gotten rid of it in Lightroom as well, but I'm just going to do that here just with the healing remove tool. And that did a pretty good job of that. And jump over to the other side. I don't want to go into it too much because this is not a video on how to edit out dust spots and all the rest of it. Okay, so the first tan line I want to try and remove. So I'm just going to use that healing brush remove tool again. And it's gotten rid of the indent from the watch. So that's the first step. That bruise, I'm also going to use that healing brush. And there's a bit of a scratch there I'm going to remove. Now, a quick and easy way to do it is I'm going to put in a new layer. I'm going to go to my brush. I'm going to sample another color. And I'm going to switch this over to color. And maybe even just lighten that off a little bit. And then I can come down here, sample a color down here, and make sure that it matches in pretty well. Okay, what else do we want to clean up? I think that's pretty much it. Her skin tones in general across her makeup and face are pretty good. So I could take it a step further and take it into Aperty and do some skin retouching there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stamp merge all this onto a new layer. So Control Alt Shift and E, and that just gives me a merged layer of everything. So it's my base layer and the color corrections that I did. So I'm going to now go into Aperty. So I'm going to go into Skylum, Aperty. Okay, so now that I'm in Aperty, I can then come and have a look at things like blemish removal, freckles removal. There is no real freckles. I can get rid of any wrinkles. So if I zoom in, and I'm just going to tidy the eyes up a little bit. I'm going to do some skin smoothing. And this is a really good area to come and fix some face color corrections if you need to. If there's any dark circles that you want to get rid of, you can brighten the face and remove any shine that there might be. And you can pop in a bit of iris flare. So that's before and that's after. We can remove any redness in the eyes. I can enhance the whites in the eyes a little bit. There's no teeth here. I can remove any blemishes on the lips. I can smooth the lips out a little bit. And even with the lips, if I want to, I can just adjust the saturation and the tone in the lips a little bit, and I can do some body skin smoothing. So if I zoom out, and this sort of will correct some of the skin tones. If it's still a little bit orange, I can come into the HSL, switch that over to saturation, and I can pull my oranges down. You can boost them up if you wish to, but just small increments. You don't have to go too far. You don't want your model looking too pale generally. You want to keep it fairly realistic. So that's pretty good. You could, of course, come back in, and if you want to add some lookup tables, you can, and there are some lovely lookup tables that you can use. I quite like that Grace. They do add some color toning to your image, although that red trace is quite nice too. Let's stick with that. And of course, you can always come and you can set how much of that you want. Apply it, and then that takes your image back to Lightroom or Photoshop or where you started from. So this is where we started from. This is the raw file in Lightroom, and this is the edited image with just fixing up the colours a little bit. So if your skin tones ever feel just a little bit off, a little bit uneven or slightly too orange, don't leave it until the end to fix it. Fix it early, keep it subtle, and the rest of your edit becomes a whole lot easier. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to check out more tips and tricks for Lightroom or other editing processes down below or in my playlist. And I will see you next time on YouTube.